Thank you for joining Unity of Sebring. If you find our lessons helpful, please consider donating at www.unityofsebring.org.
Good morning, Unity of Sebring.
Good morning.
Oh, I like that. That was great. Let's join together in our peace prayer as you find it on the screen. Together. On this day and every day, we will dedicate ourselves to peace on earth. We accept ourselves without harsh judgment and express appreciation for our individuality. We live without fear and meet the events of this day with confidence. We accept others without prejudice and experience a sense of unity with all people, in harmony with ourselves, our lives, and all others. We live this day with a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart, and a peaceful spirit. And so it is. And now I would like to welcome forward Phyllis Day, who will be our candlelighter today. Ain't she looking pretty today? She has on some of my favorite colors today. And as she lights the candle, it's a reminder to all of us that the Christ light shines within each one of us, whether it's visible to others or even to ourselves. The Christ light is within, and our mission is to shine it to all the world. Thank you so much, Phyllis. And now we have the reading of the daily word for Sunday, March 6th. Can you believe how fast time is flying? Wow. March 6th, 2022. And our word for the day is glory. My life celebrates the glory of God. My life celebrates the glory of God. Kind of like letting the light of Christ shine through us. Glory fills the world with wonder when I attune my senses to it. I hear it in the sound of waves crashing on a beach and in the resonant harmony of a choir. You made it. I see it in sunrises and sunsets, in the beauty of gardens, mountains, and forests. Oh, and this does it. In the eyes of parents holding their newborn child. I feel glory in the depths of my being at those moments when I understand my life as God's life, living as me. There is no place where my human self ends and the divine presence in me begins. God and I are one. Let's say that together. God and I are one. Again. God and I are one. The glory of God is revealed in me as I release the thought that I am only human. God's glory shines through me as the divine presence, the Christ within, expressing in my healthy body, my insightful mind, and my loving heart. And from Galatians 2, verse 20, and it is no longer I who live, but it is Christ who lives in me. Let's take our affirmation together again. My life celebrates the glory of God. Again, my life celebrates the glory of God. And we take that affirmation within and make it our own. And so it is. Let us join together in our statement of being. Together. There is only one presence, one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotence. And our mission statement together, unity of Sebring is the radiant expression of the Jesus Christ message of truth, light, and love, shining forth to welcome and bless us all, quickening in each person an awareness of our inherent value, worthiness, and purpose. And our search affirmation together, guided by love, inspired by truth, and grounded in faith, we open our hearts to meet, to harmonize, and to unify with our new spiritual leaders.
When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. When I pray, I feel my soul go deeper, my soul go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my soul go deeper, my soul go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. When I pray, I feel my love go deeper, my love go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my love go deeper, my love go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray.
So, the reason that I went into seminary, the reason I became a minister and all that, is because I love talking about this stuff. You can't really shut me up about it. I love thinking about it. I love reading the books and talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and all of that stuff. But the truth is, that's not the only reason I became a minister all those many years ago. Many years ago. Because the truth is, anybody can love this idea and not go to seminary for it. You don't have to do that. The other reason I became a minister is because I love you. And what I mean by that, well, there's a lot of things I mean by that, but for the purposes of right now, what I mean by that is I love this moment that we have together, where we're talking about it and thinking about it and working through something together, something bigger than any individual one of us. There's something amazing about that, and I've been captivated by that all my life. So much so that I've spent a lot of time asking people about how they do their spirituality. How do you do your God stuff? It's a good question. But unfortunately, early on in my life, I came from a very intellectual side of things. And so I asked a very intellectual kind of question. I would ask people, what are your rules? What are the rules you play by when you do your God stuff? I mean, what's your doctrine? What's your dogma? What are your books? Books are great. It's nice to have an idea of what you believe in and all that. I get it, but you can't get where I wanted to go with those kinds of questions. You just can't. There's a lot of reasons for that. Not everybody has the same rules. If you go to the average church or synagogue or temple or whatever you want to call it, the people in the room, even though they all sing the same songs and pray the same prayers, have different ideas about the specifics. What the average Catholic person does all day and what the Pope does all day are probably very different things. No judgment, just saying. So knowing what the rules are is not actually especially helpful. It took me a long time to figure that out. It took me a long time to figure out that I couldn't get to that heart place that I wanted with head questions. It's a little bit like trying to understand why two people love each other by interviewing the architect who built the restaurant where they had their first date. Too much left out with that head thing. But isn't that always the way? I got to tell you, so many times in my life, and I bet so many times in your life too, the problem was trying to answer a heart question with head answers, or vice versa. This is a good learning moment, guys. Take a moment and think about your life. If you ever find that you're in trouble, if you ever find that you're frustrated, ask yourself, am I using the right set of tools for this particular job? Because that might be the problem. But as I said, it's always the way. My wife is so much smarter than me, and I'm not just saying that because she's in the room. She's got a much more disciplined intellect than I do. She's very logical and she's very precise, and she knows how things work, and I respect that so much because sometimes I'm a little bit of a mess. But I also respect that it's not just head stuff that she's good at. She's also really good at feeling a thing. Anybody who knows Jenny knows that she's an amazing cook. She's the best cook anybody ever met. People come to our house, they don't even want to talk to me, they just want to eat. But the thing that's amazing to me, because I try, and I have like 3 good recipes. One of them is toast. But to me, it's still about trying to figure out the rules, and so I'm hampered by that. Jenny can feel it. You know what I mean? If you've been around somebody who can cook like that, you know exactly, oh, this needs more of this. And here are the ingredients we have right now. I can make something beautiful. I can't do that. I can make reservations. But it's kind of a bittersweet thing because she'll be making something wonderful and I will know for sure that I will never have that meal again. Because it's just that moment in time. And if I go in and ask her, what are you doing? Are you please writing this down because I'd like to have this meal again? Nope, it doesn't work that way. This is a heart thing. But the truth is, everything worthwhile is like that. You can't ask a great artist why they're painting the thing and what's going into that and what is the chemical composition of the oil paints. Who cares? And you're spoiling it. You can't ask a great athlete, okay, what are you doing with your left foot, right foot? What are you doing right now? They're going to screw it up. Everything is kind of like that. And so me asking people what the rules are is never going to get me the question that I really want answered. We have to ask different questions if we're not getting the answers that satisfy. That's a good lesson. It turns out the question is not what are the rules. The question is more like, what are you doing about it? And so, after many years of thinking this through and feeling this through and working on it, I came up with a question that I ask people that actually gets me closer to what I wanted to know. And the question is, you ready for this? The question is, when you pray, who are you talking to? When you pray, who are you talking to? That's the question. Because it cuts through all the baloney, doesn't it? I'm not interested in doctrine. I don't care right now. Later, after dinner, we'll talk about that. When you pray, who are you talking to? This is a good question for you to ask yourself. If I were in a position to give you homework, that would be the homework. Think about it. Because it says a lot about what you believe this interaction is. And independent of all the things you're supposed to say when you pray, all the these and thys and thous and those and all those things, when it's just you and God, or even if you don't use a word like God, I do, but if you don't, doesn't matter to me. I don't think God believes in brand recognition. You and ultimate concern, what's going on in that moment? When you're not doing it for the sake of checking the boxes or following the rules, what's that moment when you're doing it? How does that work for you? And if you can come up with an answer for yourself, you will be a happier and more fulfilled person because you'll be closer to what matters. You'll be doing something. Have you ever heard the phrase, all hat, no cattle? You can imagine what it means even if you've never heard it before. It's a cowboy term. All hat, no cattle. That means you're all talk. You know, when I was a kid, I got a guitar. And I had long hair and I had an earring. I've destroyed most of those pictures, but it happened. But I couldn't really play because I didn't have the patience to practice. I wasn't an artist or anything like that. I just had a guitar because it was a good way to talk to girls. And I could do a pretty good blues scale. I could play Iron Man, a couple of other things. I could play the beginning of a lot of songs. Because the beginning is all you need to start a conversation. Hey, guitar, earring, check it out. That's all I needed. All hat, no cattle. It's a lot of things like that. It's easy to be all hat, no cattle. It's easy to be all talk. It's easy to have all of the trappings of Christianity, but to actually go about the business of loving your neighbor, different issue. All hat, no cattle. Ask yourself, what am I doing about what's in my heart? Because I can tell you I love you all day long. If I don't do anything about it, who cares? Welcome to counseling. You know what I mean? All hat, no cattle. What are you doing about it? I grew up in a family of ministers, and that means that I got to be around a lot of amazing speakers and teachers. One of my heroes is a woman named Edwene Gaines, and some of you maybe have heard of her. Yeah, absolutely. Look her up if you haven't. She's amazing, and she's still doing her thing. Edwene goes all over the world talking about prosperity, and she's the best. She wrote the book on it, actually, many books on it. And I get to see Edwene all the time, and after she'd do one of her workshops, people would come up to her with questions about prosperity. How do I make this thing work? It's not just the money thing, but how do I have a happy life? How do I feel free? How do I have functionality, you know? How do I do that? And without fail, people would expect kind of a lovey-dovey, kind of a come here, let me give you a cuddle kind of an answer. But her answer would be, what are you doing about it? Are you tithing? Are you giving? Are you doing something? Because if you're not, we got nothing to talk about. That's the deal. And she said that kind of thing over and over and over again. And those who got upset didn't grow, and those who listened did. What are you doing about it? Where are you in the hat-cattle equation? Kind of an important thing. In fact, it's so important that it leads to one of the universal truths of existence. If you're the kind of person that writes things down, this is the thing to write down. Are you ready? Everything is use it or lose it. Everything is use it or lose it. It's true about your money. You want to be poor? Hoard it. It's true about your love. You want to be lonely? Don't show any love. It's true about every single thing. It's true about your physical body. It's true about your experience. It's true about laughter. It's true about art and truth and beauty and inspiration and you name it. Everything is use it or lose it. And I want to scare you with a negative rule like that so we can do it the other way. If you use what you have faithfully, you will be entrusted with more. And I didn't write that one. That's in the Bible. Pay attention to what are you using in your life? Because that's what you're going to get more of. You using your fear? Enjoy that, I guess. Or using your love. Everything is use it or lose it. So what are you doing with what's in your heart? And the reason that that question is so important when you pray, who are you talking to? Because it gets past everything else and it gets to the what are you doing about it sort of a thing. And that's really important. Some people maybe when they saw that the topic was pray like this, they thought, oh boy, church stuff. I mean, I know I'm going to church, but very few people in this room grew up in Unity like I did. I was born at Unity Village. That Peace Be Still thing we saw a picture of a little bit ago, that's a mural at Unity Village that my grandpa painted. I'm as in as you can get. But most people are refugees from something else. And that's okay. You're safe now. Ain't nobody gonna judge you here. You're okay. But I get it when I talk about stuff like prayer, when I quote the Bible, things that are very, very important to me. When I talk about Jesus, for example, there are some people that go, you know what, I'm full. I get that. I'm not going to quit doing it, but I get it. And so when I talk about prayer, people go, you know, I don't want to learn more catechism. So let's cut through all of that for right now. We can have those talks. I get a lot of books I can recommend. But that's not really what prayer is. You already know what prayer is, even if you didn't know that that's what you were doing when you were doing it. Those are the best kinds of things, don't you think? You've had a moment, I've had a moment, we've had a moment where everything just kind of slowed down and got clear. Maybe you haven't had one in a while. You're entitled. You've had a moment, I've had a moment, we've had a moment where you were in the zone, like athletes say. When you lost track of time, when you didn't care what was going on, when you were so in love, you stood out in the rain just like in the songs. You had a moment where nothing else mattered but where you were. That's where prayer lives. Nothing else. It's great if you've memorized all the things. It's great if you know when to stand up, sit down, kneel, jump down, turn around, put your right foot in. That's what it's all about. Thank you. It's great if you know that, but that's not prayer if it's not in your heart. It doesn't matter. Because God knows and you know, so who are you trying to kid? All hat, no cap. In those moments where it's just you and that thing, that's where prayer lives. In those moments where things just work, that's where prayer lives. And in fact, that's a great test. Did it work? Then it's prayer. Did it not? Go back to the drawing board. You get to try again. That's all. But the beautiful thing, like I said, is when you're in those moments, think about the last time you were in one of those moments where you lost track of time. One of the hallmarks of those moments is that things worked out. Maybe they didn't work out like you expected, but that's okay. You're not in charge of the universe. That's an ego thing. But it just worked. Because when you are in those moments, you are in touch with the source of meaning and the source of functionality. You want your life to work? Figure out how to get back in the zone. And we begin to realize that prayer is not a matter of influencing anything. Prayer is more like getting good at something. Remember how it felt when you were a little kid and you mastered shoelaces? That's how it's supposed to feel. Remember when you realized that you were tall enough to reach, the cookie jar? That's how it's supposed to feel. When's the last time you felt like that? And I ask you because you are allowed to feel like that all the time. People say that's something that children do. Well, whose child are you? Find that, and you will be on your way to something that really works. Prayer is not about influencing. Prayer is about getting good at something. And this is an important thing because this is the second rule I want to give you. You ready? Prayer does not change God. Prayer changes me. Prayer does not change God. Prayer changes me. And a lot of people nod when I say that kind of thing because it kind of feels like a no-brainer. And yet, I don't know about you, but I've been in trouble and prayed the prayer of, God, will you please change your mind about me? I promise if you let me squeak by just this once, I will never do, fill in the blank, again. People pray that prayer sometimes. I've prayed that prayer sometimes. But I happen to believe that God likes me. So why would I want God to change his mind? Your experience of God is limited by your understanding of who and what God is. So if I have a tiny little vengeful, egotistical, controlling God, I am going to have a small experience of miracles. So don't try to change God. God's already on your team. The universe is really good at infinity. Love is everywhere. Who are you trying to change? Sometimes people pray the prayer of information. God, I know you don't know what's going on, but let me tell you. Again, your experience of miracles is limited by your concept of who and what God is. If you have the kind of God who ain't looking and doesn't know, how can you also expect that God to do big things? Does God know or not? Well, then what are you wasting time for? You don't need to tell God what's going on. God knows. Or wouldn't be God, right? Prayer does not change God through information or pestering. Sometimes people say, if I just get enough words in there like a tobacco auctioneer, God will get so tired of me pestering and I'll get what I want. Prayer is not about you getting what you want. Because think about it. In those moments of clarity that you've had when you were in the zone, sometimes you found out something you didn't want to know. Well, wait a minute, I don't love that person. Wait a minute, it's not going to work this way. I'm going to have to do it a different way. But think about every success story. That's the beginning of the cool thing. Didn't work that way, all of a sudden the new thing happens. Prayer is not about you getting to enforce your ego on the universe. Prayer is more like getting out of the way. Prayer doesn't change God, prayer changes me. So when I pray, may I be like the kind of person who says, may I know it when I see it, like we've talked about before. May I be the kind of person who says, God, may I be open enough to get out of my own way. That's huge. That's spiritual. Think about the people you know. The idea you have of somebody who gets their own way all the time is probably not the idea you have of someone who's super spiritual. My way. That's a 2-year-old. Come on. So I've talked a lot about it, but the question is how to do it then. Great. Maybe you're sold on the concept that this is something I want to get into. Where do I sign up? Well, I'm so glad you've asked. Because there is a pattern to this process. It doesn't involve understanding a lot of complicated rules. There's not doctrine and dogma stuff. There's a very simple pattern that if you follow, you will get closer to where you want to go. I found the pattern a long time ago when I was reading a part of the scripture that I have read many times, one of my favorite parts, and it just stuck out in a different way for me. I had one of those moments of clarity. Jesus says, if you have faith in your heart and do not doubt, you can say to the mountain, be up and cast into the sea, and it will be done for you. You know the part. You've heard the part. You went to Sunday school, maybe. If you have faith in your heart and do not doubt, you can say to the mountain, be up and cast into the sea, and it will be done for you. You've heard that before. Oh, I like thinking about that. There's 3 things that happen in that statement. And they are the same 3 things that happen in every single miracle in the scriptures. Every single miracle that you read about in any wisdom literature all over the world through the history of humanity. And perhaps most importantly for right now, everything that ever worked in your life has followed the 3 things that happen in that story. Those 3 things are the things that I want you to remember today. The steps are see, speak, and surrender. See, speak, and surrender. If you have faith in your heart and do not doubt, in other words, if you see it, you will say to the mountain, be up and cast into the sea. You will speak it, and it will be done for you. That's it. You want your life to work? Learn how to see and speak and surrender. Because prayer does not start with what you say. Prayer starts with what you see. Your job, your homework is to fill your vision and fill your heart with what inspires you. What's true? What's noblest in the human spirit? What is honorable? What is loving? What is powerful? What are the things that God is to you? Fill your vision and fill your heart with that. I didn't say fill your heart with stuff that's already okay with you. This is not Facebook. Fill your vision even with challenging truths as long as you know in your heart that they're true. This is how we grow, guys. Well, how will I know when I get done with the see part and it's time for the speak part? Right? That's a good question, and I'm glad you've asked it. You don't even have to know. Because what will happen for you is you will get so good at getting filled up with what is true and noble and inspirational and pure and happy and funny and everything else that you can't shut up. That's how you know. When you love somebody, really love somebody, you can't shut up about it. Every song on the radio reminds you, you know? It's like that. When you are so inspired, you get in the garage and you start making stuff. You paint something, you do a thing. You move your butt. That's how you know. Because that speak part is not just the words you say, it's the action phase. It's the time when you go do something. Get so filled up and inspired that you can't sit still. You go and you do something. You say to the mountain, be up and cast into the sea. You say to that person, I'm not putting up with dysfunction anymore. You say to the boss, we're not going to do this anymore. You say to the whoever, this is how it goes. You go and do. You march. You stand. You love. You play. Because you are so filled. That's when. And then, here's the hard part. You let it go. You let it go. You let it go. When my son was young, he's old now. When my son was young, I bought him an expensive watch because I thought it would be an important thing, because it's also a test of, like, can you care for this? This is a maturity moment. This is a rite of passage kind of thing. I mean, it wasn't a Rolex, but it was too expensive to give a 12-year-old. That was a test kind of thing. I wanted him to know that I believed in him, you know? And he broke it. It's okay. Because then we got to learn, and we found a jewelry repair place, and we found this cool guy that fixed watches. And my son had his watch in his hand, and the guy wanted to take the watch, and my son couldn't let go of the watch. Couldn't let go of the watch. And the guy who was just trying to do his job finally realized what was going on, and he looked at my son and he said, it's not your fault. And he gave him the watch. And he fixed the watch. No big deal. But to get your watch fixed, metaphorically, you gotta let it go. Get so inspired. Fill your vision and your heart and your time. And don't waste your time on stuff that doesn't inspire you. That's the big deal. You might need to take out the trash. But get so filled up. Let yourself get so filled up that you can't shut up. Go do a thing, whatever that is. And then release it. Give it over. And if you can do that, mountains move. You have to release. Jesus didn't say if you had faith in your heart and do not doubt, you will say to the mountain, be up and cast into the sea, and then go get a shovel. It will be done for you. And you know this works because you've done it before. You got out of the way and something amazing happened. The last time you tried to find your car keys, you didn't find them until you stopped looking for them. What was that guy's name on that one show? And you can, try to force that to happen, but the moment you let it go, oh yeah. It's like that. You're already good at this. See, speak, surrender. This is what works. Prayer is not a place you go. It's not a bill you pay. It's not something that happens once a week. It is a way that you live. get filled up, do something about it, love somebody, serve somebody, help somebody, and you will find the answer to that question. When I pray, who do I talk to? Well, I don't know the specifics in a way that I can share any more than I can share why I love who I love. But what I do know is when I'm close to God, I feel full of love. When I'm close to God, things work. When I'm close to God, I don't judge. When I'm close to God, I know the answer, and I set somebody free. Work on that, because after all, freedom is a choice. Thank you. And now as we enter our time of meditation, let's get comfortable where we're sitting. Let's close our outer eyes and open our minds and open our hearts to the truth of this place, the truth of this moment, the truth of this family. Just as we are supported by the chairs in which we sit, by this building, by this planet, we are supported in love, in peace, in life. The presence of the Lord is in this place. Love is established in this place. I am now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life and love and wisdom. I acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom, now erase all mortal limitation. And from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation my world according to thy perfect law. The peace of God is established now. The light of God is established now. The love of God is established now. The power of God is established now. In this moment, perhaps more than any other moment before, I know who I am. I know who I am. As a child of God, I manifest my real self through this body now. I manifest my real self through this life now. When people see me, they get to know who I am. When people hear me, they get to hear my truth. I let my love show. I let it change me and move me. In me there is no more room for fear. I let it pass right over and through. In me there is no room for sickness because God is life and I just don't have time. In me there is light. And I let that light shine. Shine on all of my affairs and all of my business and all of the things that I think about. I let it shine on all those people who've been on my mind, those names I know and those names that only God knows. To each one I say, I see you free. I see you unlimited. I'm not going to hold you down with appearances. I see you like God sees you. And I loose you and I let you go to your healing. And as I let go, I let God fix it. And I let myself be free. I let myself be free. Let's say that together. I let myself be free. And let that truth be true in the silence. God, I'm ready for change. My heart is open. I'm not afraid anymore. My life is in peace and on purpose. In Jesus' name, amen. And so it is.
So blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful. So blessed, oh blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Have we been blessed this morning? Wow. Now is the time to share in our gifts. We have an affirmation to share together. Let's take the thought together as we bless the offering. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am and have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am truly grateful, and so it is. And now let us open our hearts and join Unity Prayer Team in seeing the requested and the unspoken prayers of this congregation, of our community, and of the world as we come together to recognize our individual and national freedom. For we are one, always and forever. And so, Father, Mother God, we give thanks for this time, this opportunity to come together and be as one, knowing that your will for us is and always is good good, good. We know the truth, and it sets us free. And so it is. Amen. And now we bless the gifts and the givers that have joined us. We know that these gifts go forward to bless and fulfill the message, the meaning that we have. We bless the givers. We know that we are all blessed simply by being one. Even those unknown to us, we bless them, for they receive God's blessings. And we are truly a channel of your love. And so it is. Amen. If you would stand and join together in our prayer for protection, and then we will have our love song. Together.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us.
The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And join together in our love song. And now we prepare to go and do.
Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again soon. For more information, please go to www.unityofsebring.org.